Welcome adventurers, inventors, and would-be enchanters. Imagine this, you're deep in a dungeon. The party's fighters barely holding back a horde of monsters, and you pull out a perfectly crafted wand of fireballs, made by you. That's right, crafting magic items isn't just for NPC shopkeepers anymore. This system puts the arcane power in your hands, and frankly, it is game defining.
Magic items are the currency of cool in Dungeons & Dragons. They're what separates the average adventurer from the legendary heroes sung about in taverns. But instead of relying on random loot drops or stingy DMs, not that you're that, but now you can craft your very own magical arsenal. It's like being a mad scientist, but with more sparkle and more lightning rods.
Today, we're diving into the nuts and bolts of the 2024 Crafting Magic Item System in the Dungeon Master's Guide 2024. We'll cover how it works, what you need, and why it's going to make your campaign shine brighter than the Paladin's Divine Smite. So let's get started.
So first off, if you want to craft magic items, you're going to need some skills, specifically proficiency in Arcana. And this is the intellectual fuel for all of your magical tinkering. Think of it as the secret sauce that keeps your enchanted armor from turning into an accidental suit of animated death.
And you'll need tools, lots of tools. Each type of magic item requires specific gear. For example, you'll need the smith's tools for armor, jeweler's tools for rings, and the woodcarver's tools for wands. It's like Pokemon, you gotta catch them all, but in this case, you're collecting skill sets.
And don't forget your assistants. They also need proficiency in both Arcana and the relevant tool set. Think of them as your magical sous chefs. And yes, they're here to chop, stir, and maybe argue about the finer points of rune placements.
All the way to the left. Now, let's talk about raw materials. Every magic item starts with a recipe of gold, thyme, and arcane elbow grease. The more powerful the item, the more expensive and time-consuming it is to craft. Here's a small breakdown.
A common item? Easy peasy. 5 days and 50 gold pieces. But if you're aiming for something legendary, we're talking 250 days and a mind-melting 100,000 gold.
A lot of gold.
Ooh, well, that's right, folks. Legendary items aren't just handed out. They're forged in the fires of dedication and a very patient DM.
Okay, and don't forget the mundane base items. If you're crafting +1 plate armor, you still need to start with regular plate armor, either by buying it or making it yourself. Think of it as decorating a cake. You need the cake before you can frost it with all sorts of yummy arcane roots.
And here's the twist. Whether or not you can find those materials depends on where you are. Cities have a 75% chance of having what you need, but small towns, only 25%. If you strike out, you'll need to wait 7 in-game days before you can try again.
A lot of days. Here's the crucial piece of the puzzle. If your magic item lets someone cast spells, you'll need to have those spells prepared every single day you're working on the item. So if you're crafting a wand of magic missiles, you better know magic missiles backwards and forwards.
Well, it's like the item is watching you going, do you really know what you're doing? Oh, if you can't prove it, no wand for you.
And crafting doesn't have to be a solo grind. You can bring in assistants to speed things up. With 2 people working on the same magic item, you have the crafting time. Got more than 2 assistants? Convince your DM to let them join the party, because faster crafting means faster glory for you.
Oh, but remember, everyone needs to have the right proficiencies. You can't just recruit the tavern bard to swing a hammer and call it teamwork, unless that bard happens to have a hidden talent for smith's tools, in which case, bravo!
Here's how the time and cost stack up. Each crafting day requires 8 hours of solid work. You can split those hours across multiple days if you need to.
Well, for consumables like potions or scrolls, the cost and time are halved. That means crafting a potion of healing takes just 2.5 days and 25 gold. Perfect for those I need to stop dying emergencies.
But when it comes to non-consumable items, be prepared for the long haul. Crafting a rare item takes 50 days and 2,000 gold. Very rare, 125 days and 20,000 gold. And we've covered the other ones, including legendary. It is the ultimate grind in D&D, but the payoff is...
Well, let's break it down now by type. Each item category has its own quirks, but here's the gist of it. Armor requires leatherworkers, smiths, or weavers' tools, depending on the type of armor. So if you're crafting full plate armor, hope you like metalworking.
And potions require alchemist supplies or herbalism kits, perfect for those healer by day, chemist by night types.
And then rings require the jeweler's tools, because nothing says I'm rich and magical like a ring that glows.
Like the One Ring. And weapons require leatherworkers, smiths, or woodcarvers tools, depending on the weapon.
And then the wands and the staffs require woodcarvers tools, because of course they do. And who doesn't want to whittle their way to power?
Wondrous items requires tinker's tools, or whatever tool applies to the mundane version of the same item.
So whether you're a leatherworker or a jeweler, there's a niche for you in the magical crafting market.
Now, let's take a moment to appreciate how game-changing this is. In older editions, crafting magic items was either impossible or a headache-inducing slog.
Right.
Now, it's much more streamlined, rewarding, and can be perfectly integrated into any campaign.
It's also a great narrative hook. Imagine your character is scouring the multiverse for rare ingredients, or they're bartering with a mischievous archfey, or defending your crafting workshop from jealous rivals. The drama practically writes itself.
Here's a pro tip. Start small. Common and uncommon items are quick to make and still incredibly useful. Who doesn't love an amulet of protection or a handy bag of holding?
And always, always, always plan ahead. If you know your party's rogue loves sneaking around, why not craft them the boots of elvenkind? It's not just about making stuff. It's about making the right stuff for your party.
So we've shown you how to channel your inner artificer and master the art of crafting magic items. Now, let's talk about why you should care.
Why should I care?
Because magic items are just plain awesome. They level up your gameplay, save your party's lives, and give you bragging rights for years to come.
And the best part is, you can craft items to suit your style. Like, do you dream of obliterating your enemies with fire and flare? Then get started on that wand of fireballs. Let's now break down some of the incredible items you can craft at different rarities to really enhance your gameplay.
Okay, here we go. Let's start with the small but mighty, the common magic items. These are easy to make, quick to craft, and can still pack a punch. For example, the potion of healing. Every adventurer needs one. It's like the fantasy equivalent of duct tape, always handy in a pinch.
Or how about a cloak of many fashions? Change your look at will and always stay on trend. Because why slay goblins when you can slay in style?
And let's not forget the Ruby of the War Mage, a must-have for spellcasters who want to keep their hands free for swordplay or snacks.
Now let's talk about uncommon items. These take a bit more effort, but they're totally worth it. Picture this. You can craft those boots of elvenkind, and suddenly you're the sneakiest person in the dungeon. Even the rogue is impressed.
Need a little extra protection? The Cloak of Protection gives you a bonus to AC and saving throws. It's like wearing plot armor, but cooler.
Or you can go for a bag of holding, the adventurer's ultimate carry-all. Finally, a way to store 500 pounds of treasure without looking like a hoarder.
Ow, let's crank things up a notch with rare magic items. This is where things start to get very spicy. Imagine walking into battle wielding that flame-tongue greatsword. You light it up, and suddenly everyone's paying attention, even the dragon you're fighting.
Or how about the bracers of defense? Perfect for the monk or wizard who thinks armor is for wimps. Bonus AC and no strings attached.
And for spellcasters, the Pearl of Power is a game changer. Regain a spell slot mid-dungeon crawl and keep the magic flowing.
And now we're entering the realm of very rare items. These are the things adventurers dream about, like the Staff of Fire, which basically makes you a walking flamethrower. And who doesn't want that?
Or the Belt of Giant Strength. Put one on and suddenly you are throwing ogres like they're rag dolls. But it's the kind of power that makes barbarians weep with joy.
And let's not forget about the Wings of Flying, because if there's one thing cooler than a hero, it's a hero who can fly. Just think of the dramatic entrances you can make.
I'm thinking already. All right, finally we have legendary magic items. These take dedication, resources, and probably a lot of favors from your DM, but they're worth
love you,
every
DM.
second. Yeah, you'll get one. The Holy Avenger, for instance, this is the ultimate weapon for paladins, dealing radiant damage and making fiends cry in despair.
Or the Vorpal Sword. Oh, one good roll and you're chopping off heads like it's a medieval guillotine.
But remember, while you can craft almost anything, artifacts like the Eye of Vecna or the Deck of Many Things are on a league of their own. They're usually strictly DM territory because some power is just too dangerous for players to wield. Unless your DM is feeling particularly chaotic, in which case, good luck.
The beauty of this crafting system is that it puts you in control. You decide what your character needs and you make it happen. Whether it's creating the life-saving potions or forging legendary blades, you're not just playing the game, you're shaping it.
So there you have it, everything you need to know about crafting magic items in D&D 2024. Whether you're brewing potions, enchanting rings, or creating legendary items, this system gives you the tools to leave your mark on the game.
And hey adventurers, we're just scratching the surface. In our next video, we'll dive into the most iconic magic items and how to make them work for your party. Spoiler alert, it's gonna be epic!
Until then, happy crafting adventures. May your tools stay sharp, your rolls high, and your creations become the stuff of
legend.